Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Stefan and this is the new kitchen of the French Cooking Academy. If you've missed my last videos, I've announced I've changed location and changed house and changed kitchen, and this is the new home. It's still work in progress. I need to change the stove and some other stuff. So for today, we're going to keep things quite simple. And because I'm working on my new sauce course, we're going to actually do today a little starter with a very interesting sauce from the south of France and called the sauce à la crème d'Anise, which means a cream anise sauce. Well, anise, we think of star anise or fresh anise, and the flavors are going to come from fennel, like a puree of fennel. We're going to have some hard-boiled eggs. There is some cream, there's some condiment and some lemon. We're going to be serving this with cold fish, monkfish and salmon. But the most important, this is the French pastis. We're going to be using in that recipe, because cooking with pastis is going to give you an amazing boost of flavor. Now, if we want to know how to drink pastis, don't worry, in the video description I'll give you a little notes on how to properly serve a glass of pastis. But for now, let's start this recipe. Let's go. Wow, these exciting new angles in this kitchen. So let's start with the snapshot on the ingredients. As always, everything is listed in the video description. Okay, but in a nutshell, we're going to be using fennel. We're going to use some lemon juice. I'm going to decorate with a little bit of butter lettuce. But the star of the show is this, the fennel bulb. That we're going to prep up, we're going to boil it, and then we're going to make it into a puree using this old-fashioned tool, the vegetable mill, the moulin à légumes. For the rest, a little bit of cream. There's some condiment with olive oil, mustard and the like, but that's not too important. The other important that you need to have is really the pastis, because that is an aperitif that is super strong and is going to bring the flavor to the sauce. This is a make or break. If you don't have that, you're not going to have the proper taste, just saying. So let's start now by preparing the fennel and the eggs. So like I said, there's not too much to do with that recipe. Starting with the fennel, I've put some water to boil, by the way, so you can do that now in a large saucepan. And the fennel is this. This is the fennel bulb. Normally you got branches growing here. And so all what we're going to have to do here is simply cut some of the hard bits in here, and that's going to basically let us detach these outer leaves. And these are, they're like brown and stuff. You can use this for stock, for some other things, for soups. If there's a little, little growth like this, we can reserve it as well on the side, but you're going to trim it. And the whole game is basically cleaning all of the fennel, and that includes as well, and we can cut all of these up. I'm going to reserve this on the side here. And once we've got our fennel, we can leave it like this, or if you want, you can chop it in half or in quarters. Now, because we're gonna kind of cook this really long, so it becomes very soft, I'm tempted to kind of cut them in quarters, but they might disperse in the water. So I'm gonna keep it in half like that, and that's gonna be it. And here we are on the stove. So as I said, I've got my two pots. This is for the fennel, this is for the eggs. And we're gonna make things very simple. Like I said, for the fennel, we're just gonna add a good tablespoon of rock salt. And all what we're gonna do is to take our fennel bulbs, put them in, and we're gonna count 25, I'm gonna put that one, 25 to 30 minutes, because it has to be totally soft so that we can actually pass it in the vegetable meal. The eggs, room temperature, the water is boiling. There's no need to put anything in the water. Room temperature, avoid that the eggs kind of crack. Okay? Once they are in, as you can see, the boil sometimes stops a little bit, so you wait until the raging boil starts again, and then you put your timer for precisely 10 minutes. Okay? So I'm going to leave these two to cook. After 10 minutes, we're going to take this one out, and we're going to leave these to cook until they are really done. It's been 10 minutes on the dot, so I'm going to take my eggs out, and immediately I plunge them in a bowl of very cold water. And that little thermal shock that happens here usually helps to remove the shells of the eggs. So make sure the water is very cold, and now we can discard the water. The fennel still has at least 20 minutes to cook. So my eggs are now in the water, the fennel is cooking, and that leaves us with some time, of course, to take care of some of the mise en place. So when you make a sauce like this or anything else, I always say, have your mise en place ready. So for this simple sauce, there's a few condiments that comes in here. Also a bit of mustard, but I leave it in the pot. So I've measured my olive oil, I've got my pepper, some salt flakes. This is the pastis, as you can see, a little bit, the equivalent of a teaspoon of pastis. I know it's tempting to go like, hey, pastis, let's put some. It will overpower your dish, so be very, very careful. The lettuce is beautiful, garden lettuce, it's been washed and it's ready. And what we need now is the juice of half a lemon. So when you have a bit of time like this, use the time wisely. You take a little reamer like this, and I'm just very gently going to press this. Okay. On the side as well, my cream is in the fridge, and you're going to have a bowl in your freezer. Very, very cold at the ready, because when we're going to be making the cream, the bowl is going to have to be very cold, and then we're going to whip the cream with the pastis. And this is what's going to kind of create that thickness in the sauce. So make sure, like me, you've got everything ready before you start the sauce. And let me show you the last thing, which is the vegetable meal. And here it is, the vegetable meal, aka the moulin à légumes. And this is the old-fashioned tool that's used to replace the stick blender. And you see, you put your ingredients in here, and you turn like that, and it passes things through, all the ingredients through the grid here. And it is recommended for that recipe to use the fine grid. I'm a bit worried, it looks very, very fine. I've got another one that's medium size, so we're gonna give it a shot with this one here. So it goes, but it's ready. As you can see, I've assemble the whole thing, so make sure you got this as well, or you can use also a stick blender. And now as soon as the fennel is ready, we're going to be able to start our sauce. Okay, my fennel is ready. Immediately I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to put it on a little tray here with some kitchen towel, because we're going to have to drain the water out of these. So everything on the tray, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. Alright, so my fennel is out, and as you can see, look at this, it is very, very soft, but it's also full of water. This is why we put it first here to drain a little bit, but immediately after we're going to have to press this to extract as much water as we can. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take my pieces of fennel and put everything in a sieve to let it cool down a little bit, and then perhaps by hand, we're going to try to press it like this to try to extract the maximum of water before doing the puree, because now it's really boiling hot. So I'm going to leave it to rest for like 5 or 10 minutes and then work with it. Now my fennel has cooled down a little bit. Now most of the moisture has been absorbed by the paper towel. This is a quick technique, because usually you would need a muslin cloth, wrap this around, twist it to really extract the humidity. What you can do as well is to, in preparation, because that's going to go into the vegetable meal, you can use a spoon or something and try to basically press down like this as much as you can your fennel. You don't want to pass it through, so I'm kind of pre-mixing it, and to extract a little juice, but you can see there's not much. Sorry, you can see there's not much water in there. Look at this, but it can help. So I'm going to do this a little bit and then straight into the vegetable meal. Finally, we are ready to start that puree with the moulin à légumes and the vegetable meal. So the recipe says here we need to start first with eggs, and the hard-boiled eggs in there, and pass them through. So I've got a large bowl, I've got my thing here, and all what we're going to do is basically, as you can see, pass everything through, and we start with the eggs. Now sorry for the squeaking, I don't use that thing very often. But basically, look at that. That's what we get. An interesting mix. Immediately after, it is said that we need to put the fennel in. So I'm going to take all of the fennel, and we're going to grind this bit by bit into a puree, into our bowl. And there we go, beginning of the sauce. I'm all done, and that big piece of fennel just yields a little bit, but look what's under. Make sure you also get all of the leftovers in there. In total, no more than 100 grams of fennel puree. Okay, so here we are. I've got my fennel puree mixed with some eggs. It's interesting, and the rest is like a mayonnaise. So a teaspoon of mustard in here, a pinch of salt, a good grind of black pepper. Sorry for the mustard. And then we're going to mix the whole lot. Okay, so we've got the initial ingredients, so we're gonna blend everything in like this, and don't worry if it doesn't look that appetizing at the moment because there will be cream afterwards. So we got the base, and like a mayonnaise, what we're gonna do afterwards, we're gonna incorporate some olive oil little bit by little bit into the sauce here. That's gonna slowly start to take shape. We're gonna season now with a little bit of the lemon. So the lemon gives some acidity, but it's also gonna prevent that your sauce gets brown because the fennel can oxidize. So you see the color? So the lemon kind of, make a nice color to the sauce. There we go. All right, and this is done. The base is done. I'm gonna put this in the fridge and we're gonna prepare the cream. And now for the final element, which is the cream. So my bowl was in the freezer. As you can see, it's really cold because it is important. We have to make some kind of a whipped cream. So I've got my cream in here and we're gonna be whisking, and I've got here my pastis. Okay, and all what we're gonna do here is keep on whisking until our cream thickens. We're not making totally a whipped cream, but we're gonna thicken the cream by whisking it. So it uses a bit of elbow grease, but very quickly, within a minute or so, you will see that your cream, look at that, you see? It really starts to thicken already. And this is as far as what we want. We don't want anything more than that, some kind of thick cream, and that has been whipped. And we're gonna add this now to the puree of fennel. And now to finish our sauce, this is just an assembly. So this is the fennel puree with the eggs and the seasoning. And here what we're gonna have is basically our cream in here, and that we're gonna be adding. As you can see, it's not whipped too much because, and I'm using a spatula because when you mix it in here, okay, you want to have the right consistency. So I'm not gonna use everything. I just want to make sure and see exactly how this is gonna affect my sauce and the color. I just want something nice and fluffy. A little bit more, I think. And if you want, you can take a whisk again and kind of whisk this a little bit more to firm the sauce up. But I don't think it's really necessary because you don't want it to curdle. And that can happen, it can separate with the cream. So you just want to keep that creaminess into this. And basically, you are done. And this is our Anise cream. So it doesn't exactly look like a cream. It's a bit grainy, of course. You could pass it again through a sieve, the Escoffier style. But this is the internet result. South of France, it's a bit rough, but that goes perfectly with vegetables and fish. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to test the sauce and correct the seasoning. Okay, so the old test. It's really fluffy, actually. Look at that. See that? It looks a little bit like hummus, but it's light. Wow. It's a bit like a mousse. It's got that texture. I think the cream really adds like some kind of fluffiness. And it's really light in the mouth. And I feel with something like, even with asparagus, cold eggs, and with the fish, that is going to be perfect. So this is it. I'm going to leave it in the fridge to cool down, serve it really cold, and then we're just going to dress up a plate, and we're done. Wow, now one thing I've realized is I am so bad at plating. I could not get it right, and I had to do it off camera. Sorry about that. And I even had to go online to see the things. So I'll do the finishing touch with you. So if you're interested, basically, you see the sauce, you have to put it in the middle of the plate. It has to cross the plate like that. And then your fish has to be the other way into a cross like this. So you can get that kind of perspective. The sauce is here, on little bowl on the side. And I've got a little bit of dill. And this is my salad. So what I'm just gonna do here, and it's the finishing touch, which is a very few drops of olive oil and lemon for the dressing, and a few drops on the fish, okay, to season the fish a little bit. And then we're gonna add some, like a grind of black pepper, but a little bit on here. And that is gonna be it for the plating. And this is the cold fish with the Anise cream sauce. So of course, I have to try. I'm not going to destroy my creation here. And I see I've got some droplets I need to remove. But just for the sake of it, you know what? I've got a little piece of fish here. I've got some sauce on the side here. I'm going to do a little try and tell you what it tastes like. It's a typical kind of south of France, fresh produce type of It's not, it's called a sauce, but you feel the fennel. It's a bit grainy, but there's that real kind of fluffiness, freshness into it. It's not something kind of heavy at all. It's really fresh because of the vegetables in it. And the cream and the anise is just in the background and give you some nice little intonation. I've never tried that one, but to be honest, absolutely spectacular. Highly recommended. Cold fish, vegetables and eggs. But here we are, guys. We've learned how to make the sauce à la crème d'anise, and this anisey type of cream sauce with the fennel and the pastis. Very important. Don't forget to look in the video description to have the recipe on how to serve the pastis, because you can drink it with this best drink when it's really hot outside. But that's it for me as always. If you have a question, use the comment section below. If you want to follow me, use Facebook or Instagram, hashtag French Cook Academy. You can always become a Patreon supporter. And if you really want to learn the technical stuff, don't forget the online culinary school, and there's a new sauce course coming up in a few months time where you're gonna learn everything about French sauces, and this is one of them. I'll see you all next time. Take care all. Bye bye.